Hello, everybody. Can you hear me well? If you can say in the comments that you're hearing me. Hello, everybody. I'm streaming from YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So, hello. Hopefully, I can see all of your comments and I can see answer you. And you hear me? Oh, perfect. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so what are we going to do today? Here's the thing. I was asked to look into Power BI interview questions and went online, look at the resources available on the website, and was a bit surprised actually of the quality of the answers. Nothing wrong with the questions, but the answers. And there are two problems with this. Number one is the amount of misinformation that is out there regarding Power BI. But the second one, I think the most important one, is that people are using this to get a chance at interviews, doing well at a Power BI interview, trying to get a job as a developer. Just a second. So, trying to do well as a developer, or as in a Power BI interview, and if they answer like one of these websites suggested, they are not going to get the job. And then I think we need to set the record straight and to show you what's out there and what you should answer instead. So I am hoping that you help me with the answers, and you're going to be like oh my god, it was hard to prepare for this video for sure. Hello, everybody. Hi. I see you on LinkedIn too. Hi. I cannot answer your LinkedIn comments from here. I need to do it from the telephone. So hopefully it's okay. Hello. So, are you ready? Are you ready for? I don't think you're ready, but let's get started. Okay, let me show you. I prepared the questions. Here's the thing. The intention of this is not to shame any website at all. So I took the question out from the website. You will not see from which website this comes from. This is not the point. I just want to highlight what's out there, and then we can discuss what the actual correct answers could be. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all. Okay, so are you ready to get started with this? I think there's a little bit of delay on the questions, but I believe you are. Okay, so the first question I picked is obviously, what is Power BI, right? So let's see what some of the websites say. So let me go in there, and it says here, Power BI is a cloud-based data sharing environment. Nothing wrong with that, right? It is actually, among other things, it's a cloud-based data sharing environment. Let's move on. It says, once you have developed reports using Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View, you can share your insights with your colleagues. And there's also nothing wrong with this part of the answer. They're talking about Power BI Desktop, and then you can share it in the cloud. Well, that's what I thought. But check this out. They continue answering these, and they say, this is where Power BI enters the equation. What were we talking about before if we were not talking about Power BI? And this is what they say. They say, okay, so Power BI, which technically is an aspect of SharePoint Online, lets you load Excel workbooks into the cloud and share them with a chosen group of coworkers. So what I think is going on here is that before Power BI was Power BI, you probably know that Power BI comes from Excel. It comes from Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View. Those components were in Excel, and you could publish the Excel workbooks on the cloud. It was on SharePoint, so you could publish the Excel workbook on SharePoint Online and share the reports that you created using Power Query, Power View, Power Pivot. And I think this is what they are talking about. So this is back from 2014, 15, something like that. I probably even earlier than that. So obviously this is not what Power BI is. It's not even what Power BI was. This is before Power BI even was a thing. So you should definitely not answer or repeat these if you are in an interview opportunity. I'm going to give you another definition of what Power BI is. Look at this. So it says Power BI was introduced by Microsoft to combine the multiple data visualization features into one. And I'm thinking like, okay, this must be, back in 2014, 15, it was said, or maybe perhaps even marketed, I don't know, that Power BI was a data visualization tool. And I think that's what this is referring again. They're saying that, you get data, you transform it, you model it, you analyze it, and then you visualize it, and that's what Power BI is. But this is actually far from the truth, right? So Power BI is not just a data visualization. You can visualize data, but it's not just a data visualization tool. They continue and they go like this. They say, Power BI is the new term for the data-driven industry and thus carries a lot of opportunities on its shoulders. And this is quite difficult to understand what they're actually saying. If it is that Power BI, if you use Power BI, you're data-driven, that type of correlation or causation is just not there. Just because you use Power BI does not mean that you're data-driven. I've definitely seen that. Hopefully you're shooting to be data driven, but one does not imply the other for sure. So what is Power BI? Like, how would you answer that question? And Power BI platform is actually quite big. So I would say that Power BI platform is a platform that allows you to manage and work with data, like to make it as simple as possible. So it allows you to manage and visualize your data, maybe something like that. Just let me know how would you define what Power BI is. Obviously, it is a huge platform, does a lot of things, but just like to compress it in a line to see what it is. So just say to somebody what it is. If we move on to the next question, it is, what is SelfService BI? So it's a SelfService BI is an approach to data analytics that enables business users to filter, segment, and analyze their data. And I thought, yeah, this is actually quite close to what for me is SelfService BI. But they don't stop there. And most of the times with these questions, I wish that they would have stopped in the beginning, like they say something and they don't expand on it, because when they expanded on it, you'll see it on more questions and later on, they just get it wrong. So this is what they say. They say, okay, enables the business users to work with data without the in-depth technical knowledge in statistical analysis or business intelligence. And this is what I don't think this is like really 100% correct, because the fact that you're using Power BI does not exempt you for being analytical, having analytical skills. If you're doing statistical analysis, you need to have those skills, regardless of the tool that you're using. Regarding business intelligence, if you're working with the small models, you can actually do a lot of stuff in Power BI without actually knowing what the star schema is and all that kind of technical things. I do agree with that, but just being analytical and having analytical skills is a must, regardless of the tool that you use. So SelfService BI, if I would have to answer this in an interview question, I would say that what they say in the beginning is it allows business users to be able to work with data without actually having to program things. You don't need to program M to transform the data. You click things and then things happen in the background that allows you to, a code is written in the background. You don't need to know that. So it is to empower business users to work with the data without being data analysts, basically. That would be my answer. So let me know in the comments, how would you answer that? Moving on, there's a lot of meat here. So what are the major components of Power BI? Look at that. So we have Power Query, we have Power View, we have Power BI Desktop, we have Power BI Website, we have Power Pivot, Power Map, Power Q&A, and mobile apps. So I think, again, in my view, I think this is something that you would see in 2014, 15, like when Power BI came along. That you still have these components quite much alive, because Power Query and Power Pivot are major components of Power BI Desktop. Power View just does not exist anymore. It's been deprecated. I think even in Excel it's not there anymore. So Power Map is a custom visual. Power Q&A is a functionality in Power BI Desktop. So what I would say, if somebody would ask me that on an interview, I would say, okay, the major components are Power BI Desktop, Power BI Service, not Power BI Website. I don't know if Power BI Service was called Power BI Website at any point in time. If you guys know, let me know in the comments. But I would say Power BI Desktop, Power BI Service, I would say mobile apps, I would say on-prem, and I would say embed. That would be, for me, the big main components of Power BI. If I forgot any, let me know in the comments, but that would be my answer anyway. So this is a little bit 2014 vibe to me. There's another one. There's another attempt to this. Let me show you. So what are the parts of Microsoft Self-Service Business Intelligence Solution? Okay, look at this. So it says, we have Excel BI Toolkit. It allows users to create an interactive report by importing data from different sources and model data according to report requirements. That is, ladies and gentlemen, Power BI Desktop. Not sure where the Excel BI Toolkit comes from. Again, it must be a 2014 thing. I really don't know. And then when it comes to Power BI, they say, oh, Power BI is the online solution that enables you to whatever you create in the Excel BI Toolkit, publish it, right? And there is Power BI Service. So again, major components will be Power BI Desktop, Power BI Service, embed, mobile apps, and on-prem. Paginated reports, yes. Jake was mentioning the paginated reports is also a big part of one of the major components of Power BI, so for sure. Power BI Service, I've never heard of Power BI Website. Not me either, but I don't know. Maybe it was at some point in the very beginning called Power BI Website. I do remember I did say at the very beginning Power BI Website, but I don't know if that was the official name. Okay, we move on. There's a lot to cover. So, what is Power BI Designer? Now, who remembers what is Power BI Designer? Anybody in the comments? This is again like vibes from 2014, to be fair. So for those of you that are new to Power BI ecosystem, well, let me tell you what they say first, and then we'll talk about it. So Power BI Designer is a powerful and flexible new tool under the Power BI umbrella in 2014. Yes. But the amazing thing is that they show this picture. That is Excel. That is not Power BI. So what is Power BI Designer? So back in 2014, Power BI Desktop was called Power BI Designer. I do not remember when they changed the name. I think they changed it like maybe 2 years later or a year later. I do not remember. But this question, regardless, is in a lot of the websites on interview questions. And I'm like, Why? Because Power BI Designer does not exist since 10 years back. Like, but yeah. All name of the text, exactly. Thomas, you got it right. You've been also hanging around for a while. So yeah, if somebody asks you what Power BI Designer is, you tell them is Power BI Desktop in 2014. It does not exist anymore, and you shine like a star. That's all. Next one. Is Power BI hard to use for a beginner? And this is such a hard question to answer because it depends. It depends on what your background is, what your abilities are, what you like to do, what your education is. So it's a very, very hard question to answer, but they gave it a go, so I'm going to show you. It does not require writing a skill code in Power BI like other BI tools. So the way that it's written, it's not like it just copy paste from somewhere else and put it there. But let's think about it for a second, because this is actually something that I see on LinkedIn very, very often. Just on LinkedIn, I don't see it anywhere else. But on LinkedIn, I see people that say, okay, if you want to work as a Power BI developer, you need to know SQL. And I am living proof that you don't need to know SQL to work with Power BI. And especially now that Power BI is so big, the platform is so big, you could actually work as a Power BI DAX developer only and have a full-time job, or M developer only and have a full-time job. I mean, it's gotten so big that you can go deep into any rabbit hole and get a job. So if you know SQL skills, good. It will probably differentiate you from the masses and it will give you maybe an advantage when you're looking for a job. But do you need to have a skill? No. And if they are asking you to just to do Power BI work, it's just not necessary. Send them to me. I'll tell them. Yeah, so Thomas is saying that you build views in a SQL server for Power BI developers. Yeah, and it depends on what role you have in the organization and how big your organization is. You will have somebody that builds them for you. So what I normally do is I use Power Query as a requirement to the developers, the database developers, to do the views for me, because I don't know how to do them. And they'll do it, and then I just read from them, and then everybody's happy. So it is true. If you have the skills, beautiful, but you don't need them. I said you know SQL. Oh no, I don't know SQL, so I'm not the person. Maybe Thomas can give us some sessions in SQL. Okay, so let's continue because it doesn't stop here. This is what it goes on saying, that if you have good Excel knowledge, you can use this tool easy, Power BI. It just requires a bit of Excel knowledge to get good at Power BI. And I don't agree. I really don't agree with this. One of the biggest problems I had when I started learning Power BI, and then again, this is a very personal thing, but I had to unlearn a lot of the things that you learn when you work with Excel to be able to understand how Power BI works. Because Power BI works is different technology. I mean, it smells like it, looks like it, but it's not Excel. And you need to realize that in order to start getting good and start to understanding how things work. So knowing Excel, I mean, the good thing, I guess, is you probably have analytical skills that will definitely help you when you're working with Power BI, but the technologies are completely different. So unless you work with Power Pivot and Power Query in Excel, it will not help you much. But again, that's my opinion. Excel makes tax harder. Yes, I completely agree. And it took me so long time to realize that, because I thought that, hey, I know how some works in Excel, so it should work the same in Power BI. Well, it doesn't. And you need to realize that in order to move on and learn it, like relearn it, basically. So let's move on. There's so much meat here. Is Power BI available on premise? This kill me because I'll tell you. So Guys, girls, is Power BI available on premise? No. Power BI is not available as a private internal cloud service. However, they say, with Power BI and Power BI Desktop, you can securely connect to your on-premise data sources, which is correct. I mean, you can connect to on-premise data sources, absolutely. But this question is one Google search. This answer is one Google search away. You just search for it. First hit is Power BI, comes from the horse mouth. It will tell you Power BI report server is the on-premise solution for reporting. Like, I mean, I think that there was no on-prem solution like the first maybe 1-2 years, or maybe it was already from the beginning. I'm not sure, but it's been there for such a long time that there is no excuse to get this question wrong. So if somebody asks you this, you say yes, there is. It's very costly, but you can get it. What are the different stages in the working of Power BI? And this one was, I didn't expect this to say. So they say they have data integration, data processing, and data presentation. And to me, I mean, I come from the business world, you guys know it. So, I know what I know. There's a lot that I don't know. But this for me sounds like a data engineering thing, like, data integration. And they actually had an explanation under each rubric, so you could see like what they mean. So data integration, it was like get data. And then data processing, let me show you. They say like this. They say the next step in business intelligence, I mean, they must have copy pasted somewhere else, is data processing. They say most of the time the raw data also includes unexpected erroneous data, or sometimes a few data cells might be empty. They say the BI tool needs to interpret the missing values and inaccurate data for processing in the data processing stage. A lot of works, but it sounds like the tool will magically fix the errors in your data, and then it will process it, and then you can visualize it. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Oh my god, that would be lovely. But no. To me that sounds data engineering steps or stages for working. For Power BI, I don't know what you guys say, but I would say that you get data, you transform it the way you need it with Power Query, you analyze it, model it and analyze it, you visualize it, and then you share it in the cloud with whoever needs to have the information. That would be my answer to this question. So all this data integration stuff, no. I mean, for me, data integration is when the things that you do in the back end to, like, for example, get this system talking to this system and maybe moving the data somewhere to some other system to do something else, rather than the actual data analysis, but I could be wrong. Data integration is data warehouse. Yeah, it sounds exactly, yeah. I would say it's more like this. So, no. So remember, say, get data, transform it, analyze it, visualize it, and publish it to share. Moving on. What is Power Query? So Power Query, ladies and gentlemen, it's a function. It's a function that filters, transforms, and combines the data extracted from various sources. So Power Query is not a function. You have functions, you can create functions in Power Query, but the thing itself is not a function. So what is Power Query? Power Query is a tool, I would say, that exists in many Microsoft software or components of the Azure stack. And you can find it, for example, in Power BI, in Excel, in Data Factory, I think, data flows. Do they have it in Synapse? I don't know. You find Power Query in a lot of places that allows you to get and transform data. That's what you should say. Get and transform data for Power Query, for Power BI, right? Tool, a component. And yes, you can create functions, but I don't think they need to know that at this level of the question. And we have extract, transform, and load, exactly, the ETL process. Perfect. We have another one from Thomas, a GUI that produce M code. Yeah, exactly. To transform your data. But it's not a function, so don't say that it's a function. It will not fly. If the person that is interviewing you know Power BI, you will fail for sure. Now, what is query collapsing? I was like, oh my God, I have no idea what query collapsing is. Do you guys know what query collapsing is? So it is the process of converting the steps in Power Query Editor to SQL and executing it by the source database. So what is that called? Was it at some point ever called query collapsing? I don't think so. Exactly. I'm going to show it. So there you have it. That is query folding. I mean, if you guys know, if anybody at any point heard that is called query collapsing, just let me know. It would be just interesting to know. But for sure, that is not. No, not me either. I don't know. Okay, moving on. So how do you reshape data in Power BI? Let's give it a go. So it starts, Power BI offers a wide variety of data sources, connectivity options, which is correct. You have tons and tons of connectors to get your data. Beautiful. Data editor is one of the tools used to manipulate rows and columns of the data and helps you reshape it according to the requirements. Data editor. So again, I don't remember exactly when Power Query stopped being the data editor, probably like 2018 maybe. I don't know. If anybody remembers in the comments, just shoot. But it's not called data editor anymore. I'm not sure that anybody is for the documentation that Microsoft just call it data editor. Could be wrong though. But you reshape your data. If somebody asks you this, how do you reshape your data? How do you transform your data in Power BI? You use Power Query. Hopefully you do it before Power Query, but otherwise you do it in Power Query, or if you have to, you do it in DAX. So either Power Query or DAX, depending on the requirements, if it's a live connection, blah, blah, blah. So there are many buts and ifs, but those are the tools that you have to reshape data. So let's go. What is the difference between Power Query and Power Pivot? And this broke my heart totally. You'll see. So Power Query is all about analyzing data, while Power Pivot is all about getting and transforming data. What do you think about that? So the odd thing about this for me, it was like below is correct. So below it says Power Query is an ETL tool, and then it says Power Pivot is an in-memory data modeling component, which they are. So how could they get like, maybe it was a copy-paste mistake, like an honest mistake, who knows? But if somebody says this in an interview, they'll get it wrong. You have to, change. So Power Query is about getting and transforming data, and Power Pivot is about analyzing data. It's the exact opposite. So moving on. What are the purpose and benefits of using the DAX function? I think, what would be the DAX function? I guess it's calculate, isn't it? I don't know. The one that everybody like superpowers function, maybe. So what is the purpose and benefits of the DAX function? This is what they answer. They say, DAX is much more than Power BI. So, what do they mean with that? Now, I'm going to try to interpret what they mean. I could be completely wrong, but you know, DAX exists only in Power BI and Power Pivot in Excel. It doesn't exist elsewhere. Well, obviously you have all the external tools. You have like DAX Studio and you have like Tabular Editor, but they are means to an end to Power BI anyway. So DAX to me is Power BI. So for example, Power Query, if you learn Power Query, you can use it in so many different tools. You can actually do a lot of things with it. With DAX, you do Power BI or Power Pivot in Excel. So I would not agree with that. It's not like you're learning Python that you can use to program anything and everything. No, DAX is Power BI. So they go on and they say, if you learn DAX as a functional language, you become better as a data professional. And actually, I couldn't agree more. I do think that learning DAX is very beneficial, especially if you want to be a Power BI developer. It would definitely make you better at your job for sure. So yes, that is completely true. I would have removed the first part. Just why complicating it? Goes on and says DAX is based on different nested filters, which magnificently improves the performance of data merging, modeling, and filtering tables. And I mean, DAX improves the data modeling? No. Your good data model improves DAX, but the other way around, that you have a few functions that have with modeling to do, like for example, the user relationship or cross filter, but it's more like activating and deactivating relationships rather than actually modeling itself. So I would not completely agree with that. You can do definitely data merging with it. I don't think DAX improves the performance of data merging. It just does data merging. But I could be wrong. I don't know. So uh, it says DAX. Oh, look, this is a question from Antonio. DAX is a data analysis language. It's not a function. Well, I've actually read it that they call DAX a functional language. It is a query. How is it called? The same like for Excel's formulas. It's like not like a query language. It's like a. I lost the word. It will come soon. But they do call it a functional language. I'm not sure. You guys tell me. You can create tables with DAX, yes. You can do calculated tables with DAX. So that's perfectly fine. So yeah, I think they do they have a line more or not? No, that's good. Okay, so I will get to what is DAX in a second, but let's go through another definition. So it says DAX or data analysis expressions can be used to query and return data by a table expression. And that is a quite hard. I mean, there's nothing wrong per se with the actual question. You use a table expressions to query and return data for sure, but it's just such a difficult thing to remember to actually understand. I would say that DAX is just it actually gets better, so kind of, not really. But they say it is a formula language that is used to perform basic calculations and data analysis on Power BI. And what a wonderful explanation. The thing that bothers me with that definition is that it says is used to perform basic calculations. Like basic calculation. There's nothing basic about what you can do with DAX. Like what? And then the funny thing about this is when you read the website, continue with the questions and they start going deeper into calculate and values and distinct and all that stuff. They are talking about very complex and very powerful filtering functions, and so powerful filtering things for basic calculations. So I would say there is a formula language that is used to perform basic and complex calculations and data analysis on Power BI. What do you think? So let's see what you have. Is the native formula and query language for Microsoft Power Pivot, Power BI Desktop and SQL. Look, wonderful, Olga. That's lovely. What else? Oh, are you having issues with the video transmission? Let me know in that case. Let me see. So is Pablo, demonic analysis extreme. That's the new acronym for DAX. It is good, quite good, yes. So never underestimate the potential of DAX. No, for sure not. It's actually very, very powerful. And as a data analyst, especially in Power BI, you should know DAX for sure. The stream is working. Okay, thank you. Maybe something with your connection. Okay, let's move on. This thing continues, I think. It says, it is used to compute calculated columns, calculated fields, and measures. Now, I'm not sure if Excel still uses calculated fields, but back in the day, you had calculated columns and you had calculated fields in Excel. And I think you had them like at the beginning of Power BI, but then they decided like it was so difficult to differentiate both because, calculated. So they said, okay, we're going to call it calculated columns, and then we're going to call it measures, the calculated fields. So maybe it still lives on Excel, I'm not sure. But you should say, if you are going to say this, which I don't think you need to say it when you're explaining what DAX is that it has calculated columns, measures, and calculated tables. Okay? Because this is still Power BI interviews, there's no calculated fields anymore. So what else do we have? This is, however, data cannot be inserted or modified using DAX. And that is not true. You can actually modify data using DAX. There are a ton of functions in DAX that allows you to modify the data the same way that you can do with Power Query. The reason is because sometimes you cannot do it in Power Query for whatever reason, so you need to do it in DAX, or you need to do it on the fly in DAX. So there are a ton of ETL functions in DAX. And when it comes to insert data, it depends what they mean with insert data. If they mean to add additional data to the model, you definitely can with calculated tables. Okay, so that's not correct either. So just keep Olga's definition here of what DAX is in case somebody asks you. So it is the native formula and query language for Microsoft Power Pivot, Power BI Desktop, and SQL service analysis services. Okay. More. So what is bidirectional cross-filtering in Power BI? That got messy. Let me show you. So bidirectional cross-filtering in Power BI Desktop allows data modelers to determine how they want filters to flow for data using relationships between tables. I would say that relationships allow data modelers to determine how they want filters to flow between tables. And bidirectional cross-filtering is the type of relationship that you can set. To me, that would be a better definition than that. They continue and they say, let me show you. So with bidirectional cross-filtering, the filter context is propagated to a second related table on the other side of a table relationship. And here's the thing, the reason why it's called bidirectional is because you can filter both tables, right? So when you have one side relationship, you can only affect one. When you have bidirectional relationship, you can filter both sides. So it is partially true, but they are not saying the entire thing. So you can actually filter both tables. And they say this can help data modelers solve many problems without writing complicated DAX formulas. Like, encouraging, it's a good thing, the bidirectional thing. And here's the thing, when I got started with Power BI, I knew nothing about data modeling. And knew nothing about bidirectional relationships other than when I got the same number repeated on a table, if I turn the bidirectional relationship on, it worked. So I guess this is what it means, that it helps you when you get in trouble sometimes. But the thing is that you don't really know what you're doing or what the consequences of setting bidirectional relationships are. And they should be, if you're going to explain it, you should explain everything. You should say that when you set relationships on both sides get filtered. So the performance of your model is going to decrease, especially if you have bigger tables. And also you can get unexpected results because it's difficult to control what gets filtered and how things get calculated. So you have to be a good data modeler to actually know what's going on. So it does make things easier, but it will give you problems at the end. So, in Excel, you cannot set bidirectional relationships. And I wish that for Power BI, not that they would take it away. I mean, Power BI is used by very competent developers that do know how to work with bidirectional relationships, but I wish that it was hidden somewhere in the options data, something, that you will have to know what you're doing in order to activate that, right? And for normal people, you will have to, learn how to manage a model without bidirectional relationships. I think that would be the best. But it ends up and says that it simplifies the job for the data modelers short term. So what you should say basically is that bidirectional cross-filtering is a type of relationship that allows you to filter in both directions of the table. You should stay away from them because it might decrease the performance of your model and it might give you the wrong results. That would be, in my opinion. Bidirectional comes in data modeling. Yeah. So it's a type of relationship that you can set. Use it carefully. Yeah, exactly. Tables in complex data modeling. Yeah, I do have some videos on how to create. I think it's called understanding relationships on YouTube, so you can search that and show you how to create a bridge table. But let's move on. Where is data stored in Power BI? Where do you think, guys, this data is stored? So when data is ingested into Power BI, it is basically stored in fact and dimension tables. No. If they would have said it's basically stored in tables, it's not actually stored in tables, it's stored in columns, but semantics. If they would say basically data is stored in tables, good. The fact and dimension is a completely different thing. The thing is that they actually go on and explain what a fact and a dimension table is, but fact and dimension table is just a categorization for tables on special modeling techniques, like for example, the star schema has fact and dimension tables. There are tables and data stored in tables. Then you can work in Power BI with a big flat table that has that have all the facts and dimensions in one table, and it will work. So this data is stored in tables, period. You don't need to talk about fact and dimensions unless they're asking you for that. What are the different views in Power BI desktop? Let me show you. So you have the report view. Users can add visualizations and additional report pages and publish the same on the portal from here. So publish to the service. You can also obviously do calculations, and you can do bookmarks, and you can do all that type of good stuff. Data view is data shaping can be performed through query editor tools. This sounds like you can only do, like measures and calculate columns in the data view. I mean, I don't know if there's something in the data view that you cannot do elsewhere, to be fair. To me, the data view is the view where you view the data. Like, you want to see how the data looks like, you go to the data view and then you scroll and you filter and you see, and you get a sense of the data. That's why it's called the data view. You view the data. The report view, you work with your report, you create your measures, and then you have the relationship view, where you create the relationships. But not only that, that's where you actually manage like data types, create folders, organize your things. There's like a ton of settings that you can only do on the relationship view that I actually wish that we could do on the reporting view, so we don't have to switch that much. But yeah, so remember, the data view is to view the data. That's all. Why and how would you use a custom visual file? Custom visual, basically. And this starts good, as I mentioned before. So it says a custom visual is used when none of the pre-existing visuals fit the business needs, which is correct. Well, you could use it for other reasons too, but that's the most common reason. Then it goes on and it says custom visuals are generally created by developers, which can be used in the same way as pre-packaged files. And I guess files they mean visuals. And that's actually not true. So there are two categories on the custom visual realm. And the first one is certified and not certified. So if your visual is not certified, it's going to be limited to a ton of functionality. Even if the custom visual is certified, you will still not be able to do a lot of the stuff that the visuals that are already installed in Power BI per default can do. There are just a few developers, like for example InfoRiver, that actually have managed to do that and more. But most of the custom visuals will have limitations, and you need to be aware of them, especially if they are not certified, because Microsoft has not checked the code. You could leak data, you could have some other issues. But yeah, so no, they don't do the same, even if it looks like it. And exactly as Tuma say, some of them actually require licenses, so you have to pay for. You get like a basic functionality, and then if you pay for it, you can add and do more things. So let's move on. List out some of the drawbacks limitations of using Power BI part 1. There are actually 5, not 4, but part 1. And some of these things are like, for example, complex in nature. They say, so when they are listing what Power BI is not good at, they say, okay, one major drawback of Power BI is that it's designed in a complex manner. And, this is such a subjective answer. What is complex or not is very, very, very personal thing. So I have seen people that look at Power BI and they know exactly what to do for some reason, and others it takes months to get there. And the reasons for that, it could be absolutely anything. You don't need to have any IT background to be able to be at Power BI, or you don't need to have done any programming to get good at Power BI. I don't think it has to do with that. It has to do probably with preferences, what you like to do, how you think, that kind of stuff. So to say that something is complex is very subjective. So I wouldn't see that as a drawback. It's complex for some, not complex from others. And then he says that one needs complete knowledge of Power BI in order to start working with Power BI. And two things here. Nobody in this planet knows or have complete knowledge of Power BI. Nobody. Like Power BI platform is so big nowadays, like so big. There is no human in this planet, single human, that knows everything. So that's not possible for anyone to achieve. But then let's say that say almost know a lot in order to work with Power BI. That's actually not true either, because you can actually do very useful reports in Power BI if without knowing any DAX or doing any DAX or without doing any Power Query if the data you get is clean from the beginning. It is actually possible. So it depends on what you're trying to do. It depends how big your data, how clean your data is. You can actually do amazing things without knowing very little. So that would be the same like saying you need to know everything about Excel in order to work with Excel. And I promise you, I've seen people do amazing things in Excel without knowing index match or VLOOKUP or all that kind of arrays of fancy stuff in Excel. So no, you can work in Power BI with little knowledge for sure. So limitation number 2. Power BI can not handle large supply of data and might time out while processing a large data. It says Power BI cannot process data more than 1 gigabyte. And Power BI is a platform again, so there's a lot of Power BIs out there. So the Power BI desktop, you're limited by the hardware of your machine. So if you have 4 gigabytes, yes, you probably won't be able to do a lot, but you won't be able to do a lot in Excel or Tableau or any tool. Otherwise, you can handle as much data as you want. Now, when you're publishing it to the service, you have limitations based on your license. So read the documentation, always stay up to date with exactly how much gigabytes, but they have released like a few months ago. Like if you have a Power BI premium generation, the latest one, that you have no limitation, like you buy the capacity and then you deal with it basically. So you can just have your model grow as big as you like, right? So not true. Then you have also these hybrid tables that they're launching, that you can have like massive amounts of historic data, and then you can have direct query and streaming in real life that would allow you to actually manage the data properly. Like, so no, that's not true. It was true in 2014. No, not either. Power BI desktop can manage anything. So anything your machine can manage, obviously, and you can manage too. So those are probably the biggest limitations for all of us. Yeah, exactly. Yes, but I think that with the premium limit, I think they lifted that. So if you're buying capacity, you can just you can go wild with how big your data model is. But I might be wrong though. Let's go to 3. You'll see limited sharing of data. This thing was everywhere, like everywhere. Like where does it come from? Because you've been able to share. Okay, let me read first. Reports can be shared only with users who have the same domain or have their emails listed in Office 365. Not true. Never been true. But this is the thing, never, ever, ever. You've been always able to publish to web, like publish to web, always from day one. Like, okay, 2 maybe, but you know what I mean? And then you can create a Power BI report, you publish it to the web, you publish it to web, and anybody without any license can see your work, which means that anybody without any license can see your work. Is public data at the point that you do that, right? So you might say, hey, I don't want to have all my data public, which is what they told Microsoft. And now you have business to business. So you have the possibility to create your reports and then invite another company in to see it. Or I, that for example work as a consultant, can go into my customer's workspace with my license and do work. So this is not true. Never been true, I think, but I might be wrong about the never, but almost never for sure. For sure. He says the only reason I'm using Excel is due to data sharing abilities, but you can share it. You can share it. Is it because of licenses? Maybe because you can share your Power BI reports to whoever you want, both privately and publicly. So look into that. Okay, let's move on. 405, even if it says 404, it says Power BI can connect to real-time datasets, but they are very limited data sources that allow real-time connection to the Power BI dashboard. And I wasn't sure if I was going to have these in or not, because I'm not sure what they mean with real-time data. For me, real-time data is streaming data sets. I'm not sure if they are actually talking about streaming data sets, or maybe they're talking about live and direct query. It's very hard to really understand what they mean. Uh, if you have real-time data sets, like streaming data sets, you set up your IoT hub, whatever you like, on Azure or Amazon, wherever you like it, and then you can stream it into Power BI. There's no limitations with that. Did you hear that? Okay. If you have live or direct query, obviously not all the connectors allow for direct query connections, just because they makes the connector a lot harder to use, and maybe because they don't want you to send the workloads to their servers. Clever, right? So they only allow for import. But I mean, you can connect to Power BI anywhere you want if you own the data. You just create the connection yourself, and then you can have like intermediate steps. You can have like data flows, you can have your data warehouse, you can have like, there's no limitations on how to get data with a little bit of creativity. So I'm not sure exactly what they mean, but getting data into Power BI is possible in any way or form, I would say. I'm not sure. Moving on. So Power BI does not mix imported data, which you have access from real-time connections. And again, this is like very muddy for me. Do they mean that when you have real time and then you import the data, like import mode, then you cannot, and with mix they mean you cannot join them, do relationships? The thing is like, what, it doesn't matter. Whatever they mean, you can. So if you import data into Power BI, whatever the source, you can do anything that is allowed within import sources, which is mostly everything. So not sure. Not sure what that means. Okay, so Power BI questions and answers. That was also quite interesting. Let me show you. Power BI questions and answers is a natural language tool that helps in querying your data and getting the results you need from it. Okay. So it's a language, query language, and you go and you query your data and get the result. Okay. And then it goes on and says, you do this by typing into a dialog box on your dashboard. So I guess when they say dashboards, they mean Power BI service. You have Q&A also in Power BI desktop. And they say the engine instantaneously generates an answer similar to Power View. I'm not sure what Power View has to do with it, but maybe they mean like you write something and then it creates a graph if you ask it to. No idea. And then it goes on and says, questions and answers interprets your questions and shows you a restated query of what is looking from your data. And it doesn't really work like that. So when I don't know if you use Q&A. So when you are using Q&A, it gives you suggestions of how it interprets your query while you're writing it. So you write and it says, you would like to have, I don't know, revenue 2018, and then it says revenue in 2000, and then it just suggests something, and then it says as a table or as a pie chart or as a whatever. So yeah, and then it goes and it says Q&A was developed by server and tools, Microsoft Research, and the big teams to give you a complete feeling of truly exploring your data. Server and tools? They lost me there. Is there a server and tools at Microsoft? Maybe there is. I don't know. But yeah, okay. So there's another one on Q&A, then we will talk about what Q&A actually is. So what is natural language search choice? It says, the natural language search choice is a language-based learning for communicating with information as a part of a business intelligence suite for Office 365 advertising. Yeah. So, yes. Okay. So, natural language is basically the possibility to ask questions to your data using natural language. So you will go into box, whatever is in the service or on Power BI desktop, you will start typing what you want to ask, even in Cortana. I don't know if anybody uses Cortana. And then it will suggest what you're asking, and it will give you the result that you can actually pin on your dashboard or pin in your report. That is what, for me, Q&A actually is. And it says, Rajat says that Q&A helps you make faster reports. I'm not the user of Q&A, to be fair. I find it, smart narratives use Q&A as, the main thing. And I just don't like it. I think that, sometimes it interprets my question the wrong way and it gives me something else. And if you're not careful, you might get the wrong thing. But yeah, maybe I should give it a new go. Okay, moving on. What happens when you click on a single data point in one of the multiple visuals in a report? When we do that, data gets selected and copied to the clipboard. Further, the copied data can be pasted anywhere as per the requirement of the user. Nope. I mean, maybe it could have been neat actually to have it. I don't know. Maybe we should write it to ideas@powerbi.com. Like, why not? I mean, it could be maybe the RAM of our clipboard will be a little bit too big because we're clicking on everything all the time. But the Power BI does not do that. You have to right click and then copy data, and it depends on where you are in order to be able to do that. But no. Yeah. No, it was actually painful to do these to pick the question. You're like, and I could be here like a day. I just pick some of them. It's just not good. And remember, these questions are for people that are trying to do well on an interview. So if they would actually say things like these, they would never get the job. And then you can say, okay, maybe you're saying this, you don't know enough Power BI, so you shouldn't get the job. But still, I mean, you're trying to learn and you're trying to do good at an interview. So the minimum you can ask is that the answers are like okay, like So what are the categories of data types? And when I read this, I was thinking like, oh, maybe they are asking like what type of data types are allowed in, like, I don't know, like Power Query or DAX. This is what comes. This is all, file, database, Power BI, Azure, online services, and other. And this is actually data sources, not data types. So this is the type of data sources that you can connect to in Power BI desktop. So yeah. I mean, those things are like one Google away. They can just type the question and then you get better answer that whatever the answers are. So where are content packs? Content pack is consists of an array of relevant documents and files contained in a set. So content packs are pre-packaged Power BI files where the only thing that you need to do is to bring your data and a report would be created for you with predefined visuals, predefined measures, things like that. What this is, I don't know. And Thomas is asking if they are not used anymore. So you have the template apps that does the same thing. I guess like it's like renaming. I'm not sure if they are called content packs in Power BI anymore. Maybe they are not. Good question. We'll look it up. But I mean, this answer is I don't know. Maybe there's content packs somewhere else in another software, and they just copy paste it and say that this is good. Content packs versus template versus apps. Yeah, no. So my understanding of this is like an app is when you publish a Power BI report to the service, and then you can convert it to an app together with other Power BI reports. And that would be the app experience. And then you have the templates, Power BI templates, where you go to the marketplace and then you get, for example, like a Google Analytics report, and then you connect your data and then you can work with it. And the content packs where I haven't used them actually in many, many years in the Power BI service. It's like you go to the get file or get data in Power BI service, and then you connect to MailChimp or Google Analytics, and then pre-packaged again templates, reports. So hopefully this clarifies. What is Power BI Embed? So Power BI Embed is an Azure-based cloud service that allows the development and integration of Power BI reports by web developers. Like, stop there. Don't write more. That's good. It's good. It is an Azure-based cloud service. Beautiful. Unfortunately, they continue writing and they say, without the need to write code, user developers may build their reports mostly on the Power BI desktop. And they say the Power BI desktop report can then be published and consumed by end users to a Power BI embedded workspace. Power BI embedded workspace. They should have stopped here, like seriously. So Power BI Embed is an Azure-based cloud service that, for example, you have a service or an app that allows users to monitor their expenses, their daily expenses, and you want to provide graphs to them about how much here and there in different categories. So what you can do is you can create those graphs in Power BI, and then with Embed, you can show them in your app or in your platform on the web or in wherever you are. So instead of creating your own BI solution, you use Power BI to deliver the BI experience of your service, app, whatever it is. That's what it is. So how can you depict the story in Power BI? And it says every individual chart or visualization report generated is collected and represented on a single screen. And then it says such an approach is called a Power BI dashboard. And then it goes and says a dashboard in Power BI is used to depict the story. And here's the thing, you guys know what the dashboard is, right? So a dashboard is you publish a report in a workspace in Power BI service, right? And then somebody says like, oh, I love this from your report, I love this from your report, and I want this from your report. So instead of having to watch or to see all the reports all the time, it just goes and pins stuff from each and report into a dashboard. So that's what a dashboard is. It's like you cherry pick whatever information is within that, the Power BI reports that are published on that workspace, and then you can create your own visualization. I don't think it works across workspaces yet, which would be quite neat if they did, but anyhow. So is that a good way to create a story? In my opinion, no. To create a proper story with data, you actually need to have like a focus. You need to narrow it down a little bit more. You need to probably say, okay, look at this campaign, give us 30% more customers, and we gain like 30,000 followers on whatever platform, and like tell the entire story, not just being random data here and there just to get you informed. So to be informed, it's not the same as to tell a story. So I wouldn't say that a dashboard is a good data storytelling tool. But so we have here smart narratives to tell a story. Yes, definitely. I think smart narratives can actually be tricked into doing quite neat data visualization tricks, actually. So I agree. It's super cool. Okay, getting closer to the end. Let's go. Differentiate Power BI versus Excel. So this is the grand finale. Prepare. Oh my god. Okay, let's go. So here's what they say. So they say difference between Power BI and Excel. It says Power BI is not so handy for tabular style reports. Excel is better at handling tabular style reports. So Power BI uses tabular, like it's a tabular model in the background. Excel is not. So I'm not sure exactly what they mean by tabular style report. But if there's the keynote, tabular is definitely Power BI, not Excel. So not sure what they mean with that. And then they go on about Power BI cannot display duplicated tables. Like, does it mean that you cannot load the same table twice? Because you can, you definitely can. And then it says Power BI offers beautiful, personalized, and interactive reports, while Excel doesn't offer cross filtering between charts. True, true. It doesn't. It doesn't. But Excel can actually offer beautiful, personalized, and interactive reports in the form of actually, filters and slicers. Um, Excel could do cross filtering with Power BI, but I think Power BI has been deprecated now, so cannot do it anymore. Cross filtering, we talked about that, and then these also got me. It says like, okay, analytics. It says Power BI offers simple analytics, while Excel offers high-level analytics. And why? Like, why would you say something like that? It makes no sense. Here's the thing. The level of analytics or complexity of analytics that you will be able to do either on Power BI or on Excel will be dependent on your skills, nothing else. I've seen people that are very, very, very good at Excel and they're amazing things, like fantastic things. Same goes with Power BI. Why would you limit one tool? It's just about the capabilities of the person. So you can do high level analytics in both tools. I mean, Excel has Power Pivot. The problem with Excel is just the amount of data you can manage. You're going to, at some point, you will have to move to other tools if you have a lot of data. Excel will not cope with that. But you have Power Pivot, you have Power Query. You can do complex analytics in Excel, and you can do it in Power BI. So the takeaway after reviewing all these websites is this: if you're doing a Power BI interview and you want to review Power BI interview questions, my suggestion to you is that you go to this website, you read the question, and then you find the answer yourself. You Google it, and then you can compare it. And if they match and then go with the answer that the website has, good. If they don't match, you know that's probably wrong. A lot of these answers, or a lot of the answers to the questions are one Google search away. Like you don't have to dig that much. And most of the time when I did the Googling, Power BI, like Microsoft Docs documents came first, like top 1, 2, 3 on the query search. So you will be able to find reliable information. And you will make sure that when you go to the interview, you actually find the correct answers to the questions. I don't know how much interviewers use the Power BI questions, so I really don't know if the questions are relevant or not. But if you are going to study with those, just check the questions, ignore the answers, and go. That would be my advice. So, what do you think, guys? Are you surprised? Or, let's say, Paul had an interview recently, and they did not even ask me many in-depth questions about Power BI. I did lead off that it was okay. They trusted you then. No. No, I don't know. I don't know either how much the person that is interviewing actually knows about Power BI either. So I guess that you will be fine if you keep yourself at a high level. Like most of these questions, if they would have not gone deeper into the question, they would have been fine. But once they try to explain more, because they don't have the knowledge, it goes wrong. Power BI was born from Excel and Excel Scope. Not sure. I don't know what Excel Scope is. But it was born from Excel, actually, for sure. So it was the combination of the Power Pivot, Power Query, and the deprecated Power View. So, yeah. The only questions I've ever given are DAX related. How does calculate work? The context. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Then those sites are not helpful at all, I would say. So that's interesting. So sharing and collaboration options are much more advanced with Power BI. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Excel is good for your own development, but as soon as you start emailing Excels, things go wrong very quickly because you never know what the last version is. That's what Power BI is so neat, that you can, you publish it to the web and everybody's looking at the same thing. It says, same thing happened with me. Now I'm explaining everything to manager. Which one? So is it necessary to have good knowledge in Power BI report builder for interviews? It depends, I guess, if they want you to develop on it, if they have that technology. So probably if you're working with a bigger company, they might ask for it, but if it's a small company, they don't even know what it is, it will be fine. Is it advertising jobs? Paginated reports, yeah. Paginated reports are expensive and they're a very niched application, I would say. So I would say that only bigger companies actually use paginated reports. And, with instead of using paginated reports, I would use InfRiver that, does this thing within Power BI. I tried paginated reports beginning of the year, and I was actually going to do a video about it, but it was like working with Word. Like, you remember when it's working with Word, the things move around, and it's like, it was not a good experience. I don't think in 2020, like 2022, it shouldn't be a place for Python native report. I had an interview and they asked more depth questions like Power BI backend engine run, DAX functions, own create custom visuals and optimization. DAX functions, own create custom visuals. Oh, so they want you to develop your own custom visuals? Or use like chart calculator then it? No. Okay. Okay. It was probably a big company, no? I would imagine. Must be tech company. Yeah. Okay. Maybe maybe we should open a thread on Power BI community where people would just dump their questions there, so we know what type of questions they are asking. But I always advise my customers when they are going to hire to do a similar test of what they are expecting the person to do. Sometimes I help them. Like, you get some data set and then you get a Word document that says we would like to know this. And I always tell them, like, give them Google. Make sure that they can Google. There's nobody in the world that can do Power BI without. Well, you can do Power BI without Google, but why would you? Like, let them Google, and then you'll see what kind of developer the person is. You have a real, true feeling for what the person can do or not, rather than answering questions that they just learn that maybe you don't know if they just know the answer or they know what it means. Um, no, I am not. I'm not hiring. I know sometimes people say like team, Kurbal team. Like, Kurbal is just me. Um, I'm I'm a solo entrepreneur, I guess. So no. In Sweden, for Power BI specialist positions, it is always important the amount of users for candidates reports that he's a. Oh, really? Hmm. So you mean that they are asking like how many users you had for your report? Interesting. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the way everybody develops nowadays. Like, I don't know how people did it when there was no Google. How would you do that? Like, ugh. So previous an interview, it is a disadvantage to get a PLL 300 certification. With certifications, I always say the same thing. It's like, it. I don't think a certification. Well, if the recruiter is asking for it, then you need it. But if it's not asking for it, I think certification, what it does is it um, distinguish you from the rest. So if you have, like, let's say that you start the interview process, you have 10 candidates, and you narrow it to three, and one of them has the certification, and you say, well, it is an advantage, right? Because you have like proven that you can this material. So it could be an advantage, but a necessity. Unless they specifically ask. Sometimes they say you have to be certified X, Y, Z in order to get the job. But oh, interesting, cool. Thanks for letting us know. Can you suggest a good source for learning a language? Oh, um, I don't know. It surprised me. I'm not sure why Power Query is still like the black sheep of Power BI. Like, why not so many people use it? Especially because it is in Power, in Excel. But I know people that does Excel training, and they always tell me that 99% of the class does not know that Power Query exists, which is fantastic to me. So for that reason, I'm not sure there are like a lot of resources for learning M. I guess, Inke is like very, very good with M language. Her blog is like a gold mine. If you're a beginner, perhaps it's a little bit too advanced for you. Um, you have the Data Monkey book that has M, as I understand, and then yeah, no, I think you have to Google most of it, unfortunately. Uh, mm, so yeah, not sure if there is like a top. With DAX we have like a skill BI. For M is a little bit more wide, wide net. I would say. Uh, I think it might help get you an interview. Oh, do you mean the certification? Maybe. Yeah, could be. It could be also that if they see that you're certified, you can actually go to the next step and get it. For sure, for sure. So then also you have to think about who do you want to get a job with, because if you want to get a job with a large company, they know what these Microsoft certifications are. And again, some of them might even require them. But if you're getting a job with smaller, medium companies, they don't even know what a Microsoft certification is. So even if you write PL300 certified, they don't know what it is. So you make sure that you specify exactly what it is, especially if the company is small, because they probably will not know what it is. Then obviously you can, during the interview, tell them. But oh yeah. Obviously, sorry, Chris Webb. Yes, he was blogging a lot before he became a Microsoft employee, and now I miss him so much. He did like amazing blogs all the time, and now he blogs less, obviously. So I wish he would blog a little bit more. Definitely, yes, Chris. Sorry. Alberto and Marco would be DAX, so they don't do any that I know of. I might be wrong. Yes, exactly. There you go. So Ken Pauls and Miguel Escobar. Miguel Escobar was actually stolen by Microsoft. He's amazing. So he has, I think, a new version of the Data Monkey book. So that's probably a good start. Chris Webb, yeah, exactly, yeah. Imke is absolutely fantastic. Uh, Ian, of course, he still does a yearly London user group. Ah, okay, probably. I think they are actually streaming the part the user group, London user group, right? So I think you will be able to catch up with the the speakers the sessions on. I think they have a YouTube channel in London. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, cool. Good. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope that the live stream was not too depressing, hopefully, and somehow you learned something. Um, if there's anything that you would like me to take up for another live stream, I think that maybe I can do a live stream like once a month, something like that. If we have like fun topics to talk about. So if there is anything that you would like me to talk about, just let me know anywhere. You can either contact me on the blog or on LinkedIn. You can contact me on hello on YouTube channel, anywhere. So have a fantastic evening, and thank you very much. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. It was actually fun. So to do this a lot more often. So enjoy your evening.